Hello, children. So let's continue with our most important person from your Oxford Pathways, page 25. So Lucy decided to pay the fine. She did not use her influence in any manner to evade paying the fine. So they got back home after their shopping, and then Miss Lucy was very excited. Why was Miss Lucy excited? Because she was going to put up the Christmas tree. So, just like how any of us are so excited and happy while decorating the Christmas tree, in the same manner, Lucy also was very, very happy. She started decorating the tree. And here you find that she put the same old angel on the top of the tree that used when she was a child. The same old angel. What's the meaning of that? This Christmas decoration which Lucy used as a child. She had preserved it. Now Lucy was 70 years old, but she preserved this decoration of an old angel. So, regarding her memory of her childhood, that was very close to her heart. And what did she do with this angel? This old angel decoration, she put it right at the top of the tree. So, another important value from here is how Lucy took care of her things, of her belongings. She preserved it, okay, for so many years. So then by 9 o'clock, the tree was ready. And how was the tree looking? It was covered with gorgeous bright balls in silver. So the Christmas decorations were very bright. Bright balls were there, silver icicles. Then the tree was decorated with lights. And of course, with candy canes on the lower branches for the baby. Now, why did Miss Lucy keep candy canes on the lower branches? She kept candy canes on the lower branches because she remembered what Chester said. Chester had said about his baby sister Mary that she would put anything into her mouth. So, this also teaches us another important thing. Lucy was a good listener and she heard every word of what Chester was talking to her. No wonder she remembered to put the candy canes at the bottom of the Christmas tree on its branches, because she knew even if the baby took this and put it in the mouth, it would not cause any harm to the baby. So my question to you, why did Miss Lucy put the candy canes on the lower branches of the tree? Okay, coming to the next paragraph. So then Lucy was so tired after setting up the tree, and she went to sleep. And it says she slept soundly, peacefully. She slept without any disturbance. She was so tired, so she slept. And then the next morning, what was special about the next morning? Chester would be coming there. So her maid Mitzi came to wake her up. And Mitzi said, "The young gentleman is here." The young gentleman, whom does it refer to? Here the young gentleman refers to Chester. And look at Chester, this little boy of 7 years. He's a man of his word. He kept his word. Why am I saying he kept his word? Because the previous day he told her that he would reach there by 9 o'clock. And sure, he was there. So Lucy got up and she went downstairs in a hurry. And Chester was standing in the drawing room in the parlor. And he was looking at the tree with excited eyes. He was so happy. The tree was beautiful, very beautifully decorated. And then he again encourages Miss Lucy and he gives her a positive vibe again. He says, "I knew you would have the best tree," he said. So this boy is praising Miss Lucy, rather encouraging her and motivating her. Now if you look in the life of Miss Lucy, after how many years did she put up the tree? So it was just for the sake of Chester. So this little boy was able to transform Miss Lucy by making her feel that she was wanted, by removing her loneliness by visiting her. Miss Lucy glowed with pride. So what is the meaning of glowed with pride? Here it refers to happiness. Miss Lucy was very, very happy because there was someone like Chester who was encouraging her and removing her loneliness and gave her genuine praise that her tree was looking very good. She was feeling so happy. Then for the first time she asked Chester, "Would you like to have breakfast with me?" So Chester replied very politely that he would have breakfast with her. "Glad to keep you company." That means he agreed that he would have breakfast with her. So, just as they were finishing their breakfast, a policeman was at the door and there was a summons. What's a summons? All of us know that if we are wanted by the police, they give us a letter or a summons, a warrant to appear before the court. So this police had a summons in his hand. And what was the summons about? My next question to you. What was the summons? The summons was that Lucy had to appear in the court at 10 o'clock. Okay, what was the summons? Summons was about Lucy appearing in court at 10 o'clock. Why did Lucy have to go to court? Because we read in the previous paragraphs that Arthur had parked the vehicle for a long time and the police had fined a ticket, so she had to go and pay the fine. Then Chester was watching this and he asked whether she had been arrested. And Lucy said yes. Now look here. Here Lucy is not hiding the fact that she had been arrested. In fact, she is telling the truth here to Chester. She could have easily told him a lie or some other reason, but she tells him yes. And she explains the reason to Chester. Now, what was that reason? My third question to you. What was the reason? The reason was that they had parked for quite a long time on Front Street. Okay? So, the time taken for parking their vehicle was too long. So, when they were doing their shopping, it had taken quite a lot of time. So, that was the reason why she had to go and pay the fine. The vehicle was parked for too long a time on Front Street. So, but I will be home before you get here with the baby. But then Chester had promised to bring his baby sister home. So Lucy said she would go to the court, pay the fine and come back. By the time Chester would come again with his baby sister. So Miss Lucy dropped Chester off at his home and she went to the court. The court was really crowded, a lot of people in the court. So Lucy had to wait. Another important lesson here. Lucy did not, go in by saying that she was a very important person, but she waited for her turn. Another important lesson. She waited for her turn. Okay? And the judge was very angry. He was scolding all the people there. He was fining everyone. Okay? So the courtroom scene is described there. How was it? The court was very crowded. The judge was very angry. He was scolding the people. He was fining them. Then the last paragraph, and he says, the judge says, Miss Lucy Quinn. So he's reading. What is that? Parking on Front Street for 45 minutes? You're the last person I've ever expected to see in this court, Miss Lucy. So, Miss Lucy's vehicle was parked for 45 minutes and that is too long a time. So, this judge was so surprised. He said, you're the last person on earth whom I could see in this court, because Miss Lucy was a person who obeyed all the rules, all the laws, all the regulations of the land. And the judge was very surprised that she herself was there for paying the fine and she had disobeyed the rule or the law. That is why he exclaims in such a manner that she was the last person he expected to see in the court. So obviously, this judge knew Miss Lucy. Okay, the judge knew her very well. Turn your page, page number 26. And she says, yes, Honor, I will pay the fine. So Lucy was ready. And what was the fine? What was the amount? $7. So $7 had to be paid at the court as fine. And then the judge asked Lucy to come and meet him in his chambers. Chambers refers to the room of the judge. So after she paid her fine, she went to the little room of the judge. Okay. And they shook hands. His eyes were twinkling. So this means that the judge knew Lucy. So you have a Christmas tree, Miss Lucy, he said. So now word had gotten around that Lucy had put up a Christmas tree at home. And he and his wife were discussing about Miss Lucy. So obviously his wife also knew Lucy. And he tells her that they haven't seen her for many, many years. And then Miss Lucy invites him over and she says, why don't you call on me and see my tree? Now look at the change that has come over Lucy. Lucy, who did not go anywhere, who did not talk to people, and for a long time she was alone for many years. Suddenly, she invites the judge to come over to her house. That was because of Chester, the difference Chester was making in her life, because Chester had visited her so many times, and Miss Lucy now was taking the initiative to call the judge. And the judge was very happy. He said he would be very glad to do it. So, what was the name of the judge? Judge Hennessy. Judge Hennessy. And now they are talking about what had happened during their childhood. And Lucy says, "My father didn't like you, I know," said Miss Lucy, "but then he had the prejudices of his day and age. This is a fine new world we are living in, Thomas. Tell me, is Deborah as pretty as she used to be?" So here, so what is the full name of the judge? Thomas Hennessy. Okay, that is the full name of the judge. And Miss Lucy says that during her father's time, her father did not like the judge. But then the reasons are not discussed here why her father did not like the judge. But then Lucy says that he had his own prejudice. He had his own preconceived notions. He had his own ways of thinking. Okay, and he had his misconceptions. Maybe that was why he did not like the judge. But then Lucy says this is a new world that they were living in, and they had to move ahead with their life. And she asked the judge whether his wife Deborah was as pretty as she used to be. Okay, so the judge says that she was still very handsome, and the judge also says that his wife really admired Miss Lucy, and the judge promised to come and see them. Come to the next para. So Lucy came back home from the court after paying the fine, and she got the gifts she had purchased. She brought down the gifts which she had also purchased for Mitzi and Arthur, for a driver and a maid, and she put them under the tree. That's usually that is what we do. We put all the gifts under the tree and then we take it. So Chester came there with the baby as he had promised, and now the description of the baby is given there. Look at the baby. How was the baby being described? She had red cheeks, bright blue eyes, silky soft hair. So very pretty baby. Okay, so as soon as she saw the baby, Miss Lucy lifted the baby and put it on her lap, and they were sitting in the parlor. But what did the baby do? My next question to you. What did the baby do? The baby went straight to the Christmas tree. And what did the baby put in the mouth? She got hold of the candy canes and stuffed it into her mouth. So just like how Chester had said, if the baby found anything, that would go right into the mouth. And look at how Lucy had, dealt with the situation there. She'd already understood that the baby would do such a kind of a thing. So deliberately she had put candy canes there which wouldn't harm the baby. Okay, coming to the next para. Finally, they went back home. Arthur the driver dropped Chester and Mary home. So Miss Lucy went upstairs, toiled upstairs to her nap. Nap means sleep. She went to sleep. Nap, that's not many hours, for a very short time. She took a short nap. Then she came down again, and then she looked into the newspaper. Now what was given in the newspaper? Look at the newspaper. Look at the heading on the newspaper. What did it read? There was a picture of Miss Lucy and Judge Hennessy, and the heading was Society Leader at Traffic Court. So that was the heading on the newspaper. So this news about Lucy going to the police station, paying the fine, everything was covered and it had come in the newspaper. Society Leader. Society Leader here refers to Lucy. Traffic court refers to the court where the fine was paid for the vehicle. Okay, so what was this about? The article that was written in the paper told about her family, and it also talked about how Lucy was a very important person in the society, titular head of the society. Okay, she had a title, she had a name in the society, and how it was, and in fact the newspaper article was praising Lucy, and it said how simple everything would be if people stepped up and paid their fines instead of using their influence. So in fact the article was talking good about Lucy, how she had gone to court and paid the fine without using any kind of influence to stop paying the fine. So this is something we have to understand from this chapter. Another good moral value: she did not misuse her influence. She paid the fine when she knew she was doing wrong.